After an opening day like this one, the Taoiseach must feel that the political season can only get better. As if the Controller and Auditor General's report wasn't enough, in the last few days he's suddenly had a series of new headaches. Of those, the trickiest controversy for the Taoiseach personally may be the affair of Michael Collins. The Limerick TD has now resigned the party whip after being named by the Revenue Commissioners as one of those who evaded their taxes by holding a bogus non-resident bank account. On Friday, speaking in New York, the Taoiseach seemed as surprised as the rest of us.
I cannot recall any member of our parliamentary party not having a tax clearance out. So the details behind this, I quite frankly do not know.
But now it seems it wasn't entirely a surprise to Bertie Ahern. Yesterday he said that he had in fact known last June that Michael Collins had issues with the Revenue Commissioners. Yet he appears not to have tried to find out what those issues were. In the Dáil today, the opposition demanded answers on behalf, they said, of compliant taxpayers.
Now you might like to explain to those compliant taxpayers what it is that you as Taoiseach are doing and did when this knowledge became available to you last June. This is appalling leadership.
It was not for me to investigate the facts. I am not in the business, nor am I going to get into the business of due process. I'm breaking due process. I'm breaking natural justice.
The opposition's attacks were heavily focused on the Taoiseach, partly because his role in this row has a familiar ring. The most direct parallel is the affair of the former Kerry Fianna Fáil TD and tax evader Denis Foley. Just before Christmas '99, he told the Taoiseach that he was facing questions from the Moriarty Tribunal and that he would probably have to resign from the Public Accounts Committee. Yet, according to Bertie Ahern himself, the Taoiseach didn't ask Foley what it was all about. When it then emerged several weeks later that Foley was in fact one of the notorious Ansbacher account holders, the opposition was straining at the leash for an explanation.
This is a question that's on the lips of everybody in the country, and it is a farce.
We're now on the order of business, and it's not an order on the
But Bertie Ahern survived the affair unscathed. It wasn't the first time that the way the Taoiseach initially dealt with an errant TD came under scrutiny. When allegations first surfaced that Ray Burke had accepted a corrupt payment from a builder, Bertie Ahern initially told his minister Dermot Ahern that Burke had received no such payment, according to Dermot Ahern himself. At the same time, the Taoiseach told Mary Harney that Burke had received the payment, but, as he also announced in public, he had checked it out and it was perfectly innocent.
I have examined both the circumstances and the content of what I believe happened in this instance, because it's been in the public domain for over 2 years, and people privately knew who they were talking about. I've examined them insofar as I can. I spoke to the people involved, and I do not believe there was anything wrong with anything that happened on that occasion.
And if so, what is...
But a year later, when the payment was looking far from innocent, Bertie Ahern's inquiry suddenly didn't sound so thorough at all.
It was my discussions with Ray Burke at any time before appointment minister were on the basis that he had done nothing wrong. I don't recall if I particularly asked about any individual company. I was asking in connection with any donations he would have received, was there any wrongdoing?
There have been other incidents too. The Taoiseach initially denied having met the builder Tom Gilmartin, then admitted that he had. He didn't tell the PDs about the Philip Sheedy affair, then admitted that he should have. He reassured the Dáil that Charles Haughey couldn't have abused the state-funded party leader's allowance, partly because the cheques were countersigned by a senior party figure. He didn't say that the senior party figure was himself, and that many of the cheques were blank when he signed them. It later emerged that Haughey had spent part of the allowance on Charvet shirts and expensive restaurants. Just as none of those controversies hurt Mr. Ahern in the long run, so the Michael Collins affair could be a one-week wonder. But this reminder of the Taoiseach's tendency to flounder when dealing with allegations of corruption against one of his colleagues is not the start to the Dáil season that he or the PDs would have wanted.